Before we get to my query and to your queries, I'd like to talk a bit about the anatomy of the query letter because I think that the best way to make yours very strong is to know exactly what it is that agents are looking for. So the first step is the salutation, which might seem very easy, but you would be surprised how often I get queries that either aren't addressed to anyone or addressed to the wrong person or misspell my name or what have you. So you want to start really strong. Make sure you're addressing it to the agent you're querying. We know you're querying multiple agents at a time, and I actually encourage that because there's no reason to be going one at a time. That's just not very efficient and it'll take forever. So we know that you're going to multiple people, but it's best if you can make sure that each query you send out is addressed to one individual agent. So you can use the first name, you can use the last name, it's up to you. Just make sure that you are addressing it to that one agent. The next thing that we're going to look for is your introduction. I like to see your title in caps because that is proper formatting for a query letter. Your age category, if you're writing for a non-adult audience, so that's picture books, if it's middle grade, if it's YA. Your genre, which is especially important if you're writing, fantasy or a thriller or sci-fi, etc. And then your word count, and you notice there's a little asterisk there because the word count can go up at the top or it can go below the summary. That's really up to you. The next part of a query letter is the bulk of your query letter, which is your summary. I'm going to get into that a bit more on the next slide, so I'll keep going. But this is where we'd like to see a concise but exciting summary of your novel. And then that's followed by a combination recap and comp title paragraph. This is a good place to tell us your title again, to remind us of the genre, to give us the word count if you haven't already, and then to provide comp titles. So just a quick rundown on comp titles. Comp stands for either competitive or comparative, depending on who you talk to. These are titles that show an agent that not only do you know your market, not only do you know, what the fantasy market is, for instance, but you also know how your book fits into that market. So by giving me a comp title, you're showing that, it's a good opportunity to say, this book is similar to, whoever it is that it's your book can be compared to. So maybe like this is very similar to Chuck Palahniuk, or this is very similar to Cassie Clare. So that's a really good opportunity to show the agent that you know what you're doing. It's also a good opportunity to show them the type of book you're reading, that you're writing, what the feel of the book is, what the plot of the book sort of is. So there are different ways to do that, and we can talk about that more as we go. Next is a short and sweet bio. Tell me who you are, maybe where you live, maybe what you do for a living. If you have publishing credits, that's a really great place to tell me. But if you don't have publishing credits, if you're a debut author, it's not a big deal. It is completely fine. You can just give me a little bit about yourself, 1 to 2 lines at the most, and move forward. And then finally, the closing, where you say essentially, thank you for considering me, and you then go on to include your sample pages.